Hello everybody, my name's Harry James. The national standings, not good in the Big 12 conference. Couple of undefeated teams left, and those undefeated teams are going to be put to the test this weekend inside the conference. Outside the conference, some other big games that could be the deciding factor in it. See who I think's going to win. Again, don't take these picks to Vegas, people. There's just what I think. Heck, I thought my Sooners were to be able to at least win one of these 3 non-conference games, and look what happened. I mean, tough non-conference games, one of the 2. Look what happened. Here we go. Alright, we'll start in the struggling Big 12 Conference, as we always do. And we start in Dallas, Fort Worth Metroplex. As in Dallas, TCU makes the short little trip to a non-con game to rival SMU at SMU at 7 o'clock on Friday night on ESPN. Got to go with TCU in this ball game. But there will be points scored at plenty. Saturday, San Jose State takes their trip to Ames, Iowa, at Iowa State on FSN. I'm going to go with Iowa State. 2:30, one of those 2 undefeated teams in the Big 12 puts everything on the line against as BYU and West Virginia meet at FedEx Field in Washington, D.C. on ESPN2. I'm actually going to go with BYU in this ball game, just in the fact that they want to make a name for themselves, kind of like how Houston made a name for themselves a couple weeks back. And so there we go. 6:10, Missouri State will be at Kansas State on Kansas State TV. I think we all know where this thing's going to go. It's going to go to Kansas State. And then the other undefeated team left in this conference thus far, the Baylor Bears, takes their non-con pride, keeps it at home against a feisty Oklahoma State team, as Oklahoma State will be at Baylor on Fox Sports. I'm going to go with Baylor because up the road, at least thus far, they just have not gotten a running game going. You got to have a running game to keep the clock moving against Baylor. Games outside the conference. Thursday night, we'll have Clemson at Georgia Tech on ESPN. You got to go with Clemson, right? Even though that Georgia Tech defense and offense kind of hard to prep for, but Clemson's pretty darn good. Friday night, Wyoming will be at Eastern Michigan on CBS Sports Network. I'm going to go with Eastern Michigan. And as far as a big-time game, 8 o'clock, from the Pac-12 on Fox Sports 1, you'll get to see USC at Utah on Fox Sports 1. Take the rest of the weekend to Saturday games. At 11 a.m., right after college game day, you'll wake up, you could wake up in Florida, as Florida State will be at South Florida on ABC. I think Florida State bounces back. Iowa, the Hawkeyes, will be at Rutgers on ESPN Dos. I think that Iowa bounces back. I'll take Iowa. Kent State will be at Alabama on the SEC Network. I'm going to go with Alabama. Georgia will be at Ole Miss on ESPN as Ole Miss tries to bounce back. And I think that they will. I think Ole Miss is pretty good. Kelly's a good quarterback. Big Ten play. Nevada will be at Purdue on ESPN News. I'm going to go with Purdue. From the AAC, Charlotte will be at Temple on ESPN 3. I'm going to go with Temple. And from the Big Ten, Colorado State will be at Minnesota on ESPN U. I'm going to go with Minnesota, don't you know what? 11:30 a.m. East Carolina will be at Virginia Tech on the ACC network. I'm going to go with East Carolina in this ball game. Fox Sports Mountain will also have a game at 11:30 as Boise State will be at Oregon State. I'm going to go with Oregon State. 12 p.m. Wyoming will be at BC, Boston College, on that ACC network. I'm going to go with Boston College. At 1 p.m., ESPN3 will have Gardner Webb at Ohio. Just regular Ohio. I'm going to go with the Fighting Soliches of Frank Solich in Ohio. 2:30 p.m. Florida will be at Tennessee on CBS. I'm going to go with Tennessee. They have a rocking crowd. I've been out there once, so that was awesome. App State will be at Akron, trying to bounce back. I'm going to go with Akron in this ballgame on ESPN3. Colorado will be at Oregon. Both teams coming off hard losses. Game in Eugene on the Pac-12 network, so I'm going with Oregon. Wake Forest will be at Indiana on the Pac-12 network. I'm actually going with Big Ten network, Actually going with Indiana in this ball game. ESPN News will have Miami of Ohio at Cincinnati on ESPN News. I'm going to go with Cincinnati. And the Battle of Illinois, Western Illinois and Eastern Illinois. Western Illinois and Northern Illinois. We'll go at it on ESPN3.com. I'm going to go with Northern Illinois. NBC will have Duke at Notre Dame on NBC. I'm going to go with Notre Dame in this ball game. Mississippi State will be at the University of Massachusetts on ESPN3.com. I'm going to go with Mississippi State. University of Texas of San Antonio will be at the Old Dominion on the DMYS network in... I will go with Old Dominion, ODU. And ESPNU will have Pitt at North Carolina. I think the Pitt's going to bounce back after a hard-fought game with Oklahoma State. And they will go into North Carolina and win on the U. At 3 o'clock, SEC Network will have Delaware at Missouri. I'm going to go with the University of Missouri, the Wildcats. CBS Sports Network will be having Vandy at Western Kentucky. I'm going to go with Vanderbilt. And the Camp Network will have Tulsa at Fresno State. I'm going to go with Tulsa in that ball game. 5 o'clock p.m. LSU as they try to keep their winning streak going. And Auburn tries to bounce back. The game is at Auburn. I'm going with Auburn in this ball game over LSU. 6 p.m. A couple of big games here, including Army at Buffalo on ESPN3. I'm going to go with Army. Georgia Southern will be at Western Michigan on ESPN3. I'm going to go with Western Michigan. That's a good team, by the way. Central Arkansas at Arkansas State. Battle of Arkansas is on ESPN3. I'm going to go with Arkansas State. New Mexico at Troy on ESPN3. I'm going to go with New Mexico. Nicholls State will be at South Alabama on ESPN3. I'm going with South Alabama. And Houston will be at Texas State on ESPNU. I'm going to go with Houston in this ball game. A little bit less enticing of a ball game there with Oklahoma now looking like they're completely out of this thing. But if any team can bounce back from those two losses and still do it, it's Oklahoma because of how good and solid Houston and Ohio State are. Later in that night, 6:30 on Saturday, Washington will be at Arizona on Pac-12 network. I'm going to go with Arizona. Nebraska tries to keep that winning streak alive after beating Oregon. At Northwestern on the Big Ten network, I'm going to go with Big Red. Go Nebraska. And South Carolina will be at Kentucky on the SEC network. Maybe Bob Stoops and Steve Spurrier and Mike Stoops will be at that one. As that game is at Kentucky with, of course, Mark Stoops, Bob's brother. South Carolina, though, gets the win in that on the road. 7 p.m., the docket games are right here. as Stanford will be at UCLA on ABC. I'm going to go with UCLA. Bowling Green will be at Memphis on ESPN News. I'm going to go with Memphis. Louisville will be at Marshall on CBS Sports Network. I'm going to go with Louisville. And Louisiana Tech will be at Tulane in the Battle of the Louisianas on ESPN 3. I'm actually going with Tulane in this ball game. 3 games that are left, as we'll start at 8 o'clock from Dallas Cowboys Stadium, AT&T Stadium, as the Arkansas Razorbacks will face the Gigabaggies of Texas A&M on ESPN. I'm going to go with Trevor Knight and the Fighting Aggies. An hour later on ESPN2, you can see Cal try to keep their winning streak alive at Arizona State on ESPN2, but I'm going with Arizona State. And finally, the late night capper, 9:15 on ESPNU, Air Force goes on the road at Utah State. I'm going with Utah State. All right, guys, remember this. Don't take any of these picks to Vegas with you if you're going to Vegas. I'm not a prognosticator. I'm just a picker. Thanks, guys. Hope you guys had fun this past weekend. Finally, again, thanks to all the Ohio State people that showed up in Norman. A lot of fun. And hopefully the gracious hospitalities will be rewarded back when we go out to Columbus next year. Thanks, guys. And as always, enjoy college football Saturdays. Thanks, guys. I'm out of here. See ya.